Alright, we've made it to the Arc 5 era, and with it we've come to the super heavy samurai archetype used by Gongenzaka. Noboru Gongenzaka to be more precise. And yeah, this archetype was actually based around two aspects, I believe. One was the concept of monster mashing, as in putting your 90% of monsters in your deck, and the other aspect being the monster known as Total Defense Shotgun. So here's how. Super Heavy Samurai is an archetype consisting of nothing but monster cards, and are meant to be played like that because most of their monsters have the effect which need to activate only if you have no spells or traps in your graveyard, which for a monster mash deck is how you're supposed to play it basically. And the other aspect being Total Defense Shotgun. Well, Total Defense Shotgun was actually the first monster in the entire game that could attack while it was in defense position. And yeah, they made an archetype just around that. Super Heavy Samurais are a monster archetype that can attack while it's in defense position, and they use their defense points as their attack points. So yeah, a bit of a bit of a unique archetype design there. So yeah, let's start off with our first monster, that being Super Heavy Samurai Blowtorch. It's a level 1 and has the effect when an opponent's monster declares an attack while you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard and target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, change the attack target to it, and perform damage calculation. Once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can change the attack target to this card and perform damage calculation. Cannot be destroyed by battle. Okay, so the first part of the effect is obviously referring to this card being in your hand, while the other is being referred to as this card being on the field. And a level 1 that cannot be destroyed by battle, that can basically revert the attack to itself while being in defense position, is actually very powerful. No question about it. For a battle interceptor, this is actually a very nice card. It can also be Oh, I cannot bring up spell and trap support because this is a monster mash deck which does not rely on spell cards. So yeah, it's that's it then. I can't say anything because you're not supposed to run spell or trap cards with this archetype, and yeah, that's about it. All right, now the next monster is Super Heavy Samurai Drum. It's another level 1, this one with 300 attack and defense, and if this card on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster in your graveyard except Super Heavy Samurai Drum, special summon it. You can only use this effect of Super Heavy Samurai Drum once per turn. Oh yeah, so basically this is a monster recovery from the graveyard, and it's okay. It's special summons any Super Heavy Samurai monster, meaning it can fetch your high level defense walls and beat stickers at the same time. And yeah, it's an okay card to consider running. However, not maxing out on, because Super Heavy Samurais don't always have the most potent graveyard setup going on. So 3 is a bit cloggy, 2 is absolutely fine, and 1 doesn't hurt. So 1 to 2, however do you prefer. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Helper. This one's a level 1 with 0 attack and defense. And during damage calculation, if your defense position monster battles an opponent's monster while you have no spell and traps in your graveyard, quick effect, you can discard this card and target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control other than the battling monster. Your battling monster gains defense equal to that monster's defense during that damage calculation only. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard and target one Super Heavy Samurai monster in your graveyard, special summon it. This is actually a very sweet card, no question about it. You can basically discard it to add some beefier defense options to your Super Heavy Sam that's battling, and you can banish it from the graveyard. So basically, it's a double protection at the cost of simply discarding. It's kind of like the anime exclusive card Kite-Roid from the Roid archetype, which never got printed for some reason, because for some reason it's actually the best Roid monster, and has like Kite-Roid, the anime version. well, the only version, has the effect that you can discard it to negate an attack and then banish it from the graveyard to negate the attack. So basically, it's straight up one card protects you from straight up 2 attacks, so which is kind of what this thing has going on for it. And this is also a nice card, so yeah, definitely worth running in the super heavy samurais as what 2 or 3 off, I would actually say. So yeah. All right, now going on to the a bit of a weird territory there. We have super heavy samurai soul buster gauntlet, which really looks like a monster Sieg Heiling someone. Anyway, the soul lineup of super heavy samurais are meant to be used as an equip spell, such as kind of like union monsters and all that. So yeah, you can target one super heavy samurai monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or field to that monster. It gains 400 defense. During either player's damage step, when a defense position super heavy samurai monster you control battles an opponent's monster, and you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Your battling monster's defense becomes double its original defense until the end of this turn. I'm not sure why you would actually want to equip this card onto your monster, since you can straight up double their defense on point there for 1 turn. Yeah, it's for 1 turn, but doubling its defense, as we'll see later on, some of their other bigger level monsters have ridiculous amounts of defense points, even for their own levels and for the regular monster standards. And yeah, basically this turns into some sort of an archetype honest, and it's very good. I would not advise maxing out on it because you don't always have the most potent monster which can abuse this effect to the fullest, so 2 should be perfectly fine. If you really feel like a 3 couldn't hurt, but yeah, watch your other ratios then. Next up we have super heavy samurai soul beads. You can target one super heavy samurai monster you control, equip this monster from your hand to your side of the field to that target. Each turn, the first time the equipped monster with this card this effect would be destroyed. Good God! By a card effect, it is not destroyed. When a defense position monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, special summon that monster in attack position. And now we actually have some sort of reverse logic there. It gives once per turn effect protection from effect destruction, that being. And the discard effect actually special summons in attack position? We're basing our monsters on defense position, but why are you special summoning in attack position, damn it? To be fair, most of their monsters actually have an effect that when it is summoned, they can change their battle position straight away, so it doesn't bother me too much. But yeah, this basically is a better version of Deathstroke Archfiend, so yeah. With its discard effect, that is. However, okay, so both of these effects are basically on the same level of usefulness, run by preference, I would say. So yeah. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Soul Breaker Armor. You can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or side of the field to that target. It loses 1000 defense. Also, it cannot be destroyed by battle. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish all Super Heavy Samurai Soul Breaker Armors from your graveyard and target one Super Heavy Samurai monster on the field whose current defense is lower than its original defense. Inflict damage to your opponent equal to the difference between its current and original defense. The thing with this card, it actually permanently decreases the defense by 1000, so if you stack up this thing with like if you stack that monster with like 3 of these and then disequip them all, and then you can provide some serious burn damage if you equipped it on a very menacing monster in terms of defense points. But overall it's a bit of a gimmick, so I wouldn't actually advise running it. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Soul Horns. You can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or your side of the field to that target. It can make a second attack during each battle phase. While this card is equipped to a monster by this effect, you can special summon this card, and you can only use this effect of Super Heavy Samurai Soul Horns once per turn. probably the next best card right next to Soul Gauntlets, because not only do you get a double attack each turn, but you can also special summon it at any time to get a free monster for link plays or something else if double attacking doesn't seem necessary at that moment, which is absolutely lovely. Much like Soul Gauntlet, you tend to run these at 2 or 3 because they're simply that good. Awesome. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Soul Pacemaker, or Pacemaker anyway. You can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or field to that target, and when this card is equipped to a monster by this effect, monsters your opponent controls cannot attack monsters you control except the equipped monster. You cannot tribute a monster you control equipped with this card by this card's effect. Special summon one Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck, and you can only use this effect of Pacemaker once per turn. Ah, this is okay. You're rarely going to be using the Solar Flare Dragon attack redirection, not reduction, effect with this thing. You're basically gonna be using it to summon their large beatsticks all at once. So yeah, it's a bit of an inconsistent swarming option, but running one couldn't hurt in case of some sort of emergency options, as it were. So yeah. Next up we have their first level 2 Super Heavy Samurai Soul Fire Suit. You can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or side of the field to that target. Its level becomes 5. During either player's turn, you can discard this card and target one defense position Super Heavy Samurai monster you control until the end of this turn. It loses 800 defense, but it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects by this turn. Or generally, sorry, misread there. And I'm a bit of on the puzzly side with this one, because making the card level 5, yeah, it helps out with certain synchros, and well, the other effect is actually permanent, but yeah, no, it isn't actually until the end of this turn. What am I saying? However, the reduction isn't even permanent, so yeah, you can protect it for one turn from destruction by card effects, but I'm actually find it very puzzling why you would actually want to make a Super Heavy Sam level 5. They have their share of level 5s, which are splashable, but so also at the same time, yeah, you're most probably gonna use this as a link material anyway, so yeah, I'm not quite sure what this monster was supposed to accomplish with their first effect. The second effect is perfectly clear, no questions about it. It's a bit, it's not the best, but it's certainly not the worst. But yeah, run this one by preference, I would say. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Soul Claw. You can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or side of the field to that target, and it gains 500 attack and defense. Also, it cannot be destroyed by battle. While this card is equipped to a monster by this card's effect, you can special summon this card. You can only use its effect of Super Heavy Samurai Soul Claw once per turn. So basically this is only stat boosting at its finest and nothing else going for it. So no, you don't tend to run this because there are much better options which offer you much better alternatives and effects in terms of what it does when it's equipped. So this is basically stat boosting and battle protection. So which most Super Heavy Samurais usually don't care about that, because as we'll see on later, they usually have that feature built into them or have other ways of achieving it. So no. Next up, yeah, we're stepping away from the Soul lineup just for a little bit. We have Super Heavy Samurai Trumpeter. It's a level 2 tuner with 300 attack and 600 defense. And if you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. After this card was special summoned this way, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Super Heavy Samurai monsters. If this card is tributed for the tribute summon of a Super Heavy Samurai monster and sent to the graveyard, and you have no spell and traps in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. This is overall an amazing archetypal card, no question about it. Not to mention a very great level 2 tuner monster. It can. It basically has a Gillosaurus special summoning condition, since you're always gonna have no spell or traps in your graveyard, and not to mention that it straight up comes back if you tribute it in order to tribute summon for a super heavy samurai monster. Because again, you're always going to have no spell or traps in your graveyard. So yeah, this is a 3-off staple in any basically super heavy samurai build. And as you can see by the fact that this thing is a tuner monster, they are focused on synchro spamming. So yeah, great card overall. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Fist. It's another tuner with 900 attack and defense, and during your battle phase, if your Super Heavy Samurai monster destroyed an opponent's monster by battle this battle phase, you can quick effect immediately after this card resolves. Synchro summon one synchro monster using materials you control, including this card. If you have no spell traps in your graveyard, you can target one Super Heavy Samurai synchro monster you control, reduce its level by 1, and if you do, special summon this card from your graveyard. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except Super Heavy Samurai monsters. You can only use each effect of Super Heavy Samurai Fist once per turn. So this basically doubles as an archetypal Steam Synchron and Level Leader, which in combination sounds pretty good. It's no question about it. If you actually manage to find a way to summon this during your opponent's battle phase, well, during your battle phase, what am I saying? And then have your like last monster destroy something by battle, and then you can go into a synchro, fire away with the special summon synchro, reduce the synchro's levels by 1, special summon this, maybe pull off the effect again. Sorry. You can basically. Oh wait, the second part of the effect isn't a quick effect, so yeah, you're not going to be pulling off the action I just said. You're just going to swing for some additional damage with the synchro monster you summon it. So yeah. But still, it's a very nice card to consider having around, so 1 or 2 of these couldn't hurt. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Blue Battle Ball. 100 attack and 800 defense. It's another tuner, and if all the monsters you control are Super Heavy Samurai monsters and you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls that has a level, send both it and this card from the field to the graveyard, then special summon from the extra one Super Heavy Samurai Synchro monster whose level equals the total original levels of those 2 monsters in the graveyard. The special summon is treated as a synchro summon. You can only use this effect of Super Heavy Samurai Blue Battle Ball once per turn. So basically this is an archetypal version of the trap card known as Synchro Material without the battle phase restriction, because Synchro Material is a trap card which allows you to target an opponent's monster, and this turn you can use it as a Synchro Material, basically like Soul Exchange only for synchros, but in exchange you cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this effect. This guy doesn't restrict you from accessing your battle phase, but yeah, it's actually more like actually the Speedroid Malicious Magnet without the restriction that you only can synchro summon with its effect, which is absolutely lovely here. So yeah, take in 1 or 2 of these as well, so because it's an okay card and very fun to pull off. Alright, next up we have the first level 3, and we're returning to the Soul lineup once more. First up we have Super Heavy Samurai Soul Bank Cannon. 1000 attack and defense, and you can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control. Equip this monster from your hand or side of the field to that target. It gains 1000 defense during either player's battle phase. When your opponent activates a card while you control a defense position Super Heavy Samurai monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard and negate the activation. If you do, destroy it. Then destroy as many monsters on the field as possible, minimum 1, and if you do, both players take 1000 damage. Alright. The first effect is just 1000 defense, and the second effect is it seems like decent protection at first, but at the cost of destroying every monster including yours on the field, and yeah, both players take 1000 damage because Destiny Hero Dynatag is the best burn enabler in this universe. So yeah, uh, I'm not quite sure why you would actually want to nuke your field for a measly 1000 damage and the effect negation. So yeah, and it actually only applies during the battle phase. So yeah, it's a bit of a limit there as well. So yeah, again, run by preference. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Soul Shield Wall. You can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or side of the field to that target. It gains 1200 defense. While that monster is equipped to this card by this card effect, is targeted for an attack, you can send this equipped card to the graveyard, negate the attack, but the equipped monster's defense becomes 0. This one's again a one-trick pony because this one straight up reduces the defense to 0 upon negating an attack. So you better use this monster that you protected with this thing's effect for a link summon or a synchro summon, so it doesn't go to waste because yeah, it's not gonna and it's not gonna hold off for much longer during the next turn, is it? Unless you equip it with another soul shield wall or something. So yeah, again, it's a bit of a gimmicky choice, so I would advise running by preference. All right, going away with the soul lineup for a bit. Next up, we have Super Heavy Samurai Swordsman. 1000 attack and 1800 defense. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can change its battle position. If a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control battles an opponent's monster, after damage calculation, the opponent's monster attack and defense becomes 0. This is actually a pretty fun way to this is the reptilian version of stat reduction, and it's kind of fun. This is basically what we would consider an archetypal reptilian Naga, and for what it does, it's actually decent. Not the best, but I would actually advise I would actually not advise. Love if this thing had the effect that the first time you would take damage from battles involving this card, you do not, or something like that. So it would actually make this card somewhat better, or the straight up if it had much lower stats and then said like you take no damage from battles involving these cards, then have this effect. But as it is now, it's actually kind of good. Definitely worth running in your Super Heavy Samurai build. Then next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Giga Gloves, or also known as Super Heavy Samurai Goalkeeper. Anyway, 100 attack and 1000 defense, and if this card is sent to the graveyard and you have no spell traps in your graveyard, you can look at the top 5 cards from the top of your deck, then place them on the top of the deck in any order. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard, excavate the top card of your deck. Then, if it is a Super Heavy Samurai monster, add it to your hand. If you do, the attacking monster's attack becomes 0. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard. So basically, you're sure to take in a few other cards other than Super Heavy Samurai monsters. Well, they are going to be monsters, so yeah, you're basically going to as soon as you send this card to the graveyard, you're going to rearrange that the next top card is a Super Heavy Samurai monster, which you can actually benefit from in terms of this card's effects. So yeah, it's basically a reverse engineered Morphtronic Self-on. So this one's activation condition is pulled off upon being sent to the graveyard and banished. So yeah, bit of a reverse engineered Morphtronic Self-on, but still a decent protection in the pinch, so worth running at least one of these. Actually 1 or 2 max, because it can be a bit of a breaky choice at more than that. So yeah. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Flutist. You contribute this card, special summon 1 Super Heavy Samurai from your hand. During either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard, negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. You can only use each effect of Super Heavy Samurai Flutist once per turn. This is a decent first turn option, since you can basically use this normal summon this, tribute it to special summon one of their higher beat sticks, and then you have a protection, targeting protection ready in your graveyard as soon as the opponent turns comes up. So, yeah, this is basically a three-off staple in the archetype, because the archetype tends to run a lot of high-level monsters, which are usually special summoned by the effects of other monsters. So yeah, this is also a good choice to consider running. Next up, we have Super Heavy Samurai Prep Defense. This one is a level 3 with 100 attack and 2100 defense points, which is gargantuan for a level 3 in terms of defense points. Cannot be normal or flip summoned. If you have any spell or trap cards in your graveyard when you take a if you have any spell or trap cards in your graveyard when you take battle damage, if you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard and this card is in your hand, you can special summon this card, and if you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. The wording effect on this one is actually pretty weird. At first, it seems like that it can only be special summoned if you have spell and trap cards in your graveyard, which completely goes against the logic of the archetype. But then you read a bit further, and then you just see that if you have spell or trap cards in your graveyard, it basically allows you to only set it, and then like hope the opponent runs into it in order to activate it. But and in terms of level 3 and and the effects it's actually stacked with, it's actually pretty damn versatile. It's a level 3 that can special summon itself all of the time, and it also, upon being summoned for the turn, it gets protection by battle and card effects. So yeah, it's alright, and definitely worth running at least 2 or 3 in your super heavy samurai build. Alright, now actually we're getting into the soul lineup once more, and this is actually the last soul card, that being Super Heavy Samurai Soul Piercer. It's their first level 4. It has 1200 attack and 0 defense, and you can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control. Shut up. Equip this monster from your hand or side of the field to that target. If it attacks a defense position, monster inflict piercing damage to your opponent, and if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck to your hand, except Super Heavy Samurai Soul Piercer. Despite its weird stats, and it's actually worth running because it has a very nice searching effect upon being sent to the graveyard in terms of floating. So yeah. It allows your Super Heavy Sam to deal piercing damage, and combined with Soul Gauntlet and some other higher level monsters, it basically turns them into a good 5000 plus damage, which is always fun in my opinion. So yeah, a great card overall, no question about it. Next up, we have Super Heavy Samurai Kabuto. 1000 attack and 2000 defense, which are actually great stats for a level 4. If your opponent special summons a monster, you can change as many attack position Super Heavy Samurai monsters you control as possible to defense position, and if you do, all the ones changed by this effect gain 500 of defense until the end of this turn. Great card, but only in theory, because most of the Super Heavy Sams you tend to have on the field by the time your opponent's turn comes and special summons a monster, tend to already be in defense position. So at most you'll be switching just one or maybe 2 monsters to defense position by this thing's effect. So yeah, but still, in terms of what it does, it has very good intentions. So I would say run by preference. Next up, we have Super Heavy Samurai Blue Brawler. 0 attack and 2000 defense, and when this card is normal or special summoned, you can change its battle position and it cannot be destroyed by battle. Simple and very good, and yeah, it's a beefy level 4 beat stick that swings for 2000 damage, so yeah, great card. Next up, we have Super Heavy Samurai Scales. If your opponent controls 2 or more monsters than you, and you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one level 4 or lower Super Heavy Samurai monster in your graveyard, except Super Heavy Samurai Scale, special summon it in defense position, and you can only use its effect once per turn. This is basically your first turn option. Well, this is the ultimate going second card. Basically, you open up with this, maybe then go for Flutist and summon some other monsters. So yeah, and also when this card is summoned, you also get a monster from the graveyard. So yeah, but also if you don't have an extensive graveyard setup, this thing's effect upon being normal special summon is basically useless. But still, you tend to there are some other monsters that just like offer discarding. So yeah, it can be it's basically a 3 of staple, but yeah, you basically tend to uh, you basically decide what to bring out yourself, since yeah, the graveyard setup on the first turn can be a bit of a chore to set up at first with super heavy Sams. So yeah. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Daihachi, one of their newest pieces of support. And then when this card is normal or special summon, you can change its battle position. This card can attack while in face-up defense position, and if it does, apply its defense for damage calculation. If you have no spell traps in your graveyard, you can change this card you control from face-up defense position to attack position. And if you do, add one Super Heavy Samurai Soul monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Super Heavy Samurai Daihachi once per turn. This one searches out your entire soul lineup, which is lovely, but why does it have to switch to attack position in order to do that? And yeah, this is actually the first monster that we've seen that has the effect to actually attack while in defense position. As we'll see on later, there are better monsters actually give all monsters that ability instead of just by themselves. So yeah. If you run a lot of these soul-based super heavy Sam monsters, then this is basically a 2 or 3 staple. But in a regular ass super heavy Sam build, it's not more than 1, because the way how the effect works is not very archetype like. So yeah. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Magnet. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one level 4 or lower Super Heavy Samurai monster from your hand. Then change this card to defense position. Monsters your opponent controls cannot attack any monsters except this one. So basically what this implies that if you can special summon another magnet, you basically create a Solar Flare Dragon attack lock, and yeah. You can. This is one of the possible Super Heavy Samurai builds you can possibly go for. Although watch out for the kaijus and all that, and lava golems and volcanic queens and all that, because this basically means it's this card and the other magnets you tend to summon with this thing's effect are prime bait for that kind of effect. So yeah, it's watch out for that. But overall, it's actually a very nice card in terms of attack, lockdown, and everything. Next up, we have their first level 5 Super Heavy Samurai Big Varaji. And if you have no spell traps in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. After this card was special summoned this way, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except Super Heavy Samurai monsters. This card can be treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a machine type monster. So basically this translates into a straight up level 8 Super Heavy Samurai monster. Well, only level 8 because they only have level 8s in terms of 2 tribute monsters. And yeah, you can instantly summon it just like Super Heavy Samurai Trumpeter. It instantly equals a level 7 synchros without using a normal summon. It's fantastic. What else can I say? This is also another 3 of staple in Super Heavy Samurai builds. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Adjacent State, Transporter. It's another level 5, and if you have no spell traps in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand, and after this card was special summoned this way, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except Super Heavy Samurai monsters. If you have no spell traps in your graveyard, you can tribute this card, special summon up to 2 monsters from your hand to your opponent's side of the field in defense position, then draw cards equal to the number of monsters special summoned by this effect. You can only use this effect of Super Heavy Samurai's Transporter once per turn. If you actually tend to give your opponent from your give your monsters to your opponent from your hand, you usually tend to give them 0 at defense monsters, while you have like soul horns and soul gauntlets, and maybe even soul piercer with a large beat stick in hand in order to like swing for 8,000 damage. So yeah, this is more of an OTK enabler card, well, along with giving you some mild pluses of the monsters you summon. So yeah, again, it can special summon itself instantly, but in terms of the rest of its effect, you basically run it by preference. While for the first effect, you basically run it because you're getting a free monster constantly, link spamming and all that. So yeah. Alright, now going on to their first two tribute monster. First up we have Superheavy Samurai Big Benkei, their main deck boss monster. Has 1000 attack and 3500 defense, and when this card is normal or special summoned, you can change its battle position. Super Heavy Samurai monsters you control can attack while in face-up defense position. If they do, apply their defense for damage calculation. It's one of their proudest moments that they can officially announce that their biggest main deck boss monster can be special summoned with Giant Rat. Yeah, that's basically what this thing is. Really, look at its stats. Giant Rat can summon it. And I think even Warrior Lady of the Wasteland can even summon it. So, oh no, wait, it's a machine type monster, so nope. But anyway, this is basically a 3-off staple, no question about it. A very hard 3-off staple, and lots of monsters can special summon it, so yeah, it's a really nice card. Cool. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Thief. This one is a level 10 with 1000 attack and defense, and if you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand, and after this card was special summoned this way, you can special summon monsters for the rest of its turn except Super Heavy Samurai monsters. You contribute this card and activate one of these effects. Destroy one card in your opponent's spell or trap zone. Then you can set the destroyed spell or trap card on your side of the field. Destroy one card in your opponent's pendulum zone. Then you can place the destroyed card in your pendulum zone. Okay, so as we'll see on later, their extra deck monsters usually have this part of the effect, but you can actually steal the opponent's back row with with these effects, and yeah, it's very nice in terms of what it does. And the second effect actually works specifically for pendulum archetypes, so it's a bit format dependent there. And they have their own pendulum monsters, which we'll get into in a second. So yeah, this is usually a one or two off staple in the deck, because stealing the opponent's back row, because yeah, since you can't run it, why not steal some of your opponent's valuable set pieces? So yeah, it's an okay card to consider running. Their first pendulum monster is Super Heavy Samurai General Coral. It's a level 1 with 300 attack and 500 defense, scale 8. And while you have a spell or trap cards in your graveyard, this card's pendulum scale becomes 4. Once per turn, you can when a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can activate this effect. That monster can make a second attack in a row, even if this card leaves the field. And its monster effect is that if you have no spell traps in your graveyard, you contribute up to 2 Super Heavy Samurai monsters, draw that many cards, and you can only use this effect of Super Heavy Samurai General Coral once per turn. Both of these effects are actually pretty good, and not to mention that the monster effect is a much better version of the Super Heavy Samurai Thief. If you so Super Heavy Samurai Transporter, I will mix those two together if you don't prefer running Transporter. So yeah, this is a very cool card to consider having for both of these effects, and yeah, definitely worth running. And their final main deck monster and their other pendulum monster is Super Heavy Samurai General Jade. This one is a level 8 with 1800 attack and 2800 defense, scale 1. Its pendulum effect is that you cannot pendulum summon monsters except Super Heavy Samurai monsters, and this effect cannot be negated. And once per turn you can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, increase its level by 1 even if this card leaves the field. You contribute this monster effect is that you contribute summon this card by tributing only one Super Heavy Samurai monsters, and when this card is normal or special summon, you can change its battle position. And this card can attack while in face-up defense position, and if it does, it plays defense for damage calculation. So yeah, this is basically a one tribute monster in order to, in terms of how its monster effect works, but in terms of how its pendulum effect works, it's meh. Well, actually, both of these effects are actually pretty meh in terms of how they're used. But still, if you run Coral, then you most likely run Jade because you gain access to pendulum summoning then. So yeah, it shouldn't be surprised that red always is the best color. I'm just saying. Next up we have their first synchro monster, that being Super Heavy Samurai Swordmaster Musashi. This one is a level 5 with 300 attack and 2300 defense, completely generic. And when this card is synchro summoned, you can target one machine type monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. But if you have a spell or trap card in your graveyard, you cannot normal or special summon monsters for the with that monster's name for the rest of this turn. This card can attack while in face-up defense position, and if it does, it apply its defense for damage calculation. The fact that it can bring out any machine type monster is absolutely lovely, as we'll see on. I'll mention certain other monsters just happen to be so machines, which are absolutely a great choice in this deck. So yeah, in terms of low-level synchro monsters for this archetype, this is a very nice first turn option and worth running at least 2 of these. So yeah. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Ogre Shutanoji. This is a level 6 with 500 attack and 2500 defense, and requires a machine type tuner and one or more non-tuner Super Heavy Samurai monsters. And this card can attack while in face-up defense position. Yeah, applies defense. And when this card is synchro summoned, you can, if you have no spell traps in your graveyard, you can destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls. Straight up a Harpy's Feather Duster upon being summoned, which is lovely. You basically nuke your opponent's entire back row, and yeah, it's a great card and a very great card to consider running overall. So yeah, it's definitely run at least 1 or 2 of these. So yeah. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Stealth Ninja. This is their level 7, requires a machine type tuner and 1 or more non-tuner machine type monsters. And this card can attack in while in face-up defense position, applies defense, yeah. If you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you can halve this card's original defense until the end of this turn, and if you do, this card can attack your opponent directly this turn. Once per turn during your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card. Simple and easy recovery, and that's basically the best thing about this card. And while attacking directly is fine, but it's not gonna matter in the long run, because if you can make a level 7, well, this is their only level 7, you can probably make their other higher level synchros, which are much more worth your time. So yeah, if you run this, it's not more than 1 basically. So yeah. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Ninja Sarutobi, which is which has 2000 attack and 2800 defense, machine type tuner, and 1 or more non-tuner Super Heavy Samurai monsters are its requirements. Can attack while in defense position, defense points as damage, yeah. Once per turn during either player's turn, if you have no spell traps in your graveyard, you can target one spell trap on the field, destroy it, and if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. I would have actually liked if had Thief's effect that it allows you to activate its effect, well, or actually set it to your side of the field so you can use it for yourself. So yeah, could have been better, but it certainly could have been a lot worse. So yeah. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Beast QB. This is basically a Super Heavy Samurai Nine-Tailed Fox, which I absolutely adore the aesthetic of this. This one's a level 9 with 1900 attack and 2500 defense, and this requires 1 tuner, 1 or more non-tuner Super Heavy Samurai monsters. And this card can attack while in face-up defense positions and damage, yeah. And if you have no spell traps cards in your graveyard, this card gains 900 defense for each special summon monster your opponent controls. So yeah, this is another, a monster that actually relies on your opponent in order to do stuff. And in terms of what it does, it actually does gain a pretty beefy amount of defense points for each special summon monster. It's almost a 1000, so yeah. If your opponent happens to have like 6 monsters, let's say, at least, if it doesn't have an extra link that allows you to special summon to your side of the field due to the link arrows, if it has like 6 monsters, then this card gains like, wow, 900 times 6 is basically 5,400 additional defense points, which is absolutely a lot. So yeah, even with like 2 or 3 monsters, this thing is a genuine threat. But if your opponent's board is entirely filled up, this thing becomes a really massive beat stick. And yeah, again, a very nice staple in super heavy samurai builds. Their next monster is Super Heavy Samurai Warlord Susanovo. This one is a level 10 with 2400 attack and 38,000 defense. 3800 defense, sorry. And requires 1 machine type tuner and 1 or more non-tuner Super Heavy Samurai monsters. And this card can attack while in defense position. Defense is damage once per turn during either player's turn. If you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, you can target one spell or trap in your opponent's graveyard, set it to your side of the field, but banish it when it leaves the field. So this is actually a very cool card, no question about it. Not only is it capable of snatching spells or traps from your opponent's graveyard, but he can also banish them upon using them, so the opponent cannot make any use of them if they have like graveyard effects or something. And of course this was done as the protection to not use a single card more than once in order to like abuse the effect. Like, imagine if Pot of Greed was like unlimited, and then the opponent had a Pot of Greed in your graveyard, and then each turn you activated a Pot of Greed, and then it will be, I know, right? But this basically prevents the use of a single card more than once, and this type of protection actually made the card much better because it can actually shut down the graveyard effects of all spell or trap cards that this thing basically decides to snatch. This is basically their secondary boss monster, and definitely worth running. And their final synchro monster is Super Heavy Samurai Steam Train King. This is a level 12 with 2000 attack and a gargantuan 4800 defense. Basically this thing can run over both Quasar and Rainbow Neos. This thing requires 1 Super Heavy Samurai tuner and 2 or more non-tuner Super Heavy Samurai monsters. Can attack while in defense position, defense for damage calculation, and once per turn you can discard up to 2 cards. Then target that many cards your opponent controls, destroy them. And once per turn you can banish all spell and traps from the graveyards, and if you do, inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each card banished. So yeah, this card definitely does not screw around. And on the spot you can actually discard 2 cards to actually target 2 cards on the field and destroy them. And not to mention that you can banish your entire graveyard, your opponent's entire graveyard worth of spell and trap cards in order to burn. Well, the burn damage does seem minuscule at first, but a lot of decks tend to fill up their graveyards with lots of spell and traps to get actually a very decent amount of burn damage. This is an absolute hard staple in terms of boss monsters with Super Heavy Samurais, and yeah, combined with Soul Claw, Soul Horns and Soul Gauntlet, along with Soul Piercer, this thing can swing for a very hard 10,000 plus damage. And yeah, it's awesome, really. And not to mention that the Samurai Face train is absolutely hilarious. And yeah, great card, amazing card, fantastic card overall. And their final card is their newest piece of support, that being the Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow, which is their Link 1 Link monster. Link 1, 0 attack, points bottom left, and requires 1 Super Heavy Samurai monster. Cannot be used as link material. While you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, you take no battle damage from attacks involving this card. If you have no spell traps in your graveyard, you can discard 1 card and target 1 Super Heavy Samurai monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position to a zone this card points to, and you can only use this effect once per turn. This is actually... It was actually questionable to see how the Super Heavy Samurai's Link monster will be handled, since Link monsters cannot go into defense position, but it turns out this was handled pretty good. It's not a staple or anything, but still it's a very great card to consider running. Definitely a 2 or 3. So yeah, vaguely, because it does have its problems in terms of like cannot be used as link material. That is one of the biggest problems that the link monster can have, because you can actually it basically limits to the usability of a link monster if it has that effect. Well, Platinum Gadget is one of the best examples of that problem. So yeah, and those were super heavy samurais, and yeah, time for the grades. In terms of, well, it's gonna be one of the trickier grading scales, since I'm not allowed to mention back row and at all. So yeah, in terms of consistency, they have a lot of monsters that special summon themselves, and if you have no spell or trap cards, so basically they're archetype Bulgilosauruses, and the fact that they have so many of them, and which means they can produce lots and lots of link monsters in a single turn. So yeah, I'm actually inclined to give them a 3 out of 3 in terms of consistency. Power gets a fat 3 out of 3 because Steam Train King is absolutely ridiculous, and combined with Soul Horns, Soul Gauntlet, and Soul Piercer, it can become a very nasty threat in most case scenarios. And yeah, it's a very great card. Comeback ability is a bit flimsy. It's definitely not perfect, but still they have lots of ways that they can recover stuff from the graveyard and basically kick themselves back up after a beatdown. So yeah, I'm gonna give them a 2 out of 3 there. Protection exists, and again, it's a bit flimsy as well, but still they have some decent aspects of it, so I'm gonna give them a 2 out of 3 there. And as for the versatility, well, they basically aren't splashable in anything other than their own archetype, so I'm gonna give them a 2 out of 3 there. However, I would actually recommend splashing in Jinzo and Spell Canceller in the decks, because it basically, once you summon both of them, it basically says to your opponent, yo, since I am not allowed to play spell or trap cards, neither are you, so only play monsters because I said so. So basically it's really fun. So so you usually tend to run at least one Jinzo and Spell Canceller in your super heavy samurai deck, and it usually pays off very well. So yeah. Alright, so that was one of those bigger archetypes. For now on, it should be smooth sailing. There is actually one more bigger archetype, but we'll get to that way later. We'll see what it is. And yeah, we'll be continuing on with one more archetype from the Arc 5 era, and then we're going to take a look at one archetype from the GX era, and then I have a bit of a surprise for you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos, books, and updates. Comment, like, and subscribe. Good God, this is almost a 1-hour review. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. See you all. Have a good day, and peace.